First, Clash 25 battle report on Newbie Dice with the brand spanking new Abyss versus Night Stalkers. I'm playing with Command Dice. Is the sky falling? Stay tuned.
Hello there! I like to watch battle reports to get better at games. So I started making short, summarized battle reports that focus on learning points. So welcome to my channel, Newbie Dice. Do like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon if you enjoy my videos. Do consider speeding up this video with the YouTube settings to consume this content or other YouTube content in a fraction of the time.
Alright, back into it. I have lots to cover about the new Clash 25 updates, so let's get into it. So firstly, command dice or command points, we're playing with it, so everybody has a list of universal orders to access, and this is the access of universal orders. Two things I'd like to highlight is that a unit may only benefit from a single command order per turn. So sometimes you might forget this when you do a defensive command like Endurance to heal up a point of damage, and then later on in combat phase you did strength or accuracy. You can't do that if it has already benefited from another order. So take that in mind. Another thing is all orders must be declared before any relevant dice are rolled. So strength and accuracy are great, but you do have to declare them before rolling. So you should declare to accuracy before rolling to hit and declare strength before rolling to wound. This is very important. If not, the 1 point cost of these orders, if you are able to roll after seeing the result, that will be too good already. So for example, accuracy also works for spells because spells are ranged attacks. So you got a bunch of 2 dice spells. You can, if you are able to roll after seeing the result, you could just wait till you fail one of them and then you reroll. Then that'll be too good. So you have to decide that I really need this pain chant to go off. Let me pump accuracy into it to get a 3 dice pain chant instead of 2 dice. So you can't wait till you fail it. Okay. Similarly for strength, it will be too good if you see the results and you're like, okay, I've already dealt enough wounds for a double one to route, so I don't need to reroll. Or you see that the result is already 6 to route and you're thinking, okay, if I reroll 1 more wound, it will become 5 to route much easier. So you can't do that. If you can do that at 1 point, it's just too good. Okay, so you have to declare them beforehand. But on the other side of the coin, declaring vigilance before you see your result would be terrible because you have to invest 6 points and you don't even know if you're going to roll poorly yet. But you have to spend the 6 points first. Then you see your result. If it's terrible, you get to roll again. If it's not terrible, you have just spent 6 points for nothing really. So vigilance is not very useful. I do like endurance also to heal 1 point. So the most commonly used will be the first 3: strength, accuracy, and endurance. Okay, reposition, tactical retreat, and stubborn when there are few bad traffic jams that you can fix with these commands. Channel power, you use it once in a while. Take note, most of the time re-rolling a spell dice to hit is better than adding 1 dice. It's not better, but it just costs 1 compared to 3. And accuracy, you can re-roll unique spells such as Alchemist Curse, while channel power you can't, non-unique spell. Okay, but in the early game when you're doing a lot of range attacks, you have no use for other commands. You could do a strength, accuracy, and channel power. Fast spell, sometimes when you really need extra 3 inches when a unit is just out of your Bane Chant range, that might come in handy. So the rest are kind of situational. Okay, stubborn to me is pretty costly, but sometimes there is a traffic jamming, a game breaking waiver on your unit that jams up your entire line and you really need it out of the way. Stubborn would be great, but then they can't charge or counter charge. Okay. So let's look at my Abyss list. So 2 lower abyssals, 1 troop, 1 regiment. So these have been sort of merged with the ghoul profile. They become melee 5+. So they become cheaper, just slightly more expensive than ghoul, but they don't have the higher nerf that ghouls have. Okay, but they do have regen. Okay, so not better than ghouls, but 1 plus point they have is the unit strength 3 on the regiment. Okay, Flame Bearers, now they have this new Sacrificial Imp upgrade. This new Sacrificial Imp upgrade is for 1 turn. You get defense 6 against shooting from the front. That includes magic attacks as well because they are shooting attacks. Okay, so that makes them able to overcome their weakness, which is to be shot at by longer range shooting. So you can push up aggressively, pop that sacrificial imp, so that people will not when they shoot at the flame barrels, it'll be defense 6, so it's not very worthwhile as well. So gargoyles, 2 troops. Berserkers, these are the new units. They are speed 9, so they are like werewolves. Speed 9, melee 4, defense 4, regen, nimble. Okay, one thing they have, a few things they have above werewolves, or rather lycans. They're closer to lycans from the herd, is that their attacks are more. Hitting on 4s, but with more attacks. Actually, it converts into more hits most of the time, because if you compare the 18 attacks on 3s is an average of 12 hits, 30 attacks on 4 is an average of 15 hits. Even if hindered, 18 attacks on 4s would be 9, while 30 attacks on 5s would be 10. Okay, so what they also have above the lycans are higher nerf, 1 higher nerf point, 16, 18 instead of 15, 17. They have fury, okay, and they have regen is already there. Okay, so what they don't lack, what they don't have compared to lycans is Pathfinder. Okay, lycans are also cheaper at about 225 if I remember correctly. But the kicker for the Abyssal Berserkers is they do have access to the Sacrificial Imp upgrade, which is pretty juicy. I'm comparing Abyssal Berserkers with other hammers in the list, namely the Abyssal Horsemen and the Morlocks. So the Morlocks are 16-18 nerf, they hit harder, but they are also defense 4, but they don't have Sacrificial Imp. So that makes the Morlocks a bit weaker against shooting, and they're slow, right? Speed 6 compared to speed 9. They're also monstrous infantry, so their frontage is wider at 150. So it's harder for gargoyles to screen, for example. Yeah. So then the Horsemen, they are defense 5, dash 16 now, but 16 at the higher end of the nerf point is still not fantastic, right? They are slower also at speed 8 compared to these speed 9. So I do like these units quite a bit. I think everybody looking at Abyss does. Is it broken? I'm not sure yet. It was still too early, but they are really, really good. Okay, next I have Tortured Souls, 1 horde. I've only 2 pseudo hammers, sort of like hammer units in my list. 1 horde of Berserkers and 1 horde of Tortured Souls. Tortured Souls are just pretty cheap. So 18 attacks on 4s, Crush 1, Thunder 1. So they're pretty cheap. They fly. I needed them for the unlock as well, so I ran out of points. So this was the other only heavy unit I could field at 200 points. Okay, I took Cronius. Cronius also has the Sacrificial Imp upgrade, dash 18. With the Sacrificial Imp, will be harder to take down. Seductress. I took her with Gnome Glass Shield and Scorched Earth. This was an interesting choice. At this point, I wasn't a believer of Host Shadow Beast yet. Okay, but I felt that with a lot of Thunderous Charge and Ferocious Charge in Faction Orders now, Scorched Earth giving a hindered charge is a good way to neuter these Faction Orders. Okay, Zazuzu comes, and I bought a red dice on him, and then Manifestation of Bale with 1 red dice, so I bought a total of 2 red dice. Okay, and Well of Souls, so there's a pretty heavy monster mash going on here, 290 points for Well of Souls, 265 plus 10 points on the command dice purchase for Bale. Okay, and I have Cronius, so only 2 hammer units with lots of attacks. All in all, 14 attacks, only 14 units, 13 of them score 22 unit strength. Let's talk about the Abyss faction orders. First one is Hellfire, giving a unit Fireball 8. I think this can be pretty handy in the early game, as I have pseudo Lightning Bolt 15 here, and with faction orders allowing reroll is like almost pseudo 17, right? And then Flame Bearers for 10 attacks, and then I could give a unit Fireball 8. For example, if my gargoyles move up to screen, if they're within 12 inch of the enemy, I could give Fireball 8 anyway, but not if my gargoyles move more than 10, because they will have moved at the double and then they can't make a ranged attack. Okay, take note of that. I think in the late game sometimes when things move out of your arc, you could just turn a unit around, give it Fireball, and shoot at that unit as well, especially if it's heavily wounded. It just needs a bit more wounds and Shattering to trigger a nerf check that might kill it. So all in all, I think it's not a bad one. Okay, and Abyssal Mutations to reroll regen rolls. This comes in once in a while when I'm heavily wounded, then I'll go for it. Night Stalkers, my opponent has 3 Horde of Scarecrows, Tormentors with Brew of Strength, Phantoms 2, Butchers 2 of them, 1 with Sharpness, 1 with Blessing, Ravagers 2 of them in regiment size, these are the shooting Butchers, Planar Apparition, Terror, Portal of Despair for inspiring and granting another unit inspire. It has life, Radiance of Life and Dread as well. 2 Horrors, one with Bane-Chan Scorched Earth, the other one with Bane-Chan Buckskin 5, and one of the Horrors have 1 blue command dice. Okay, all in all 15 units, 13 of them score 29 unit strength, that's pretty high. Okay, now Night Stalker commands, the first one is Run Them Down, which I think is pretty good because it gives Ferocious Charge. If you're not familiar with this rule, it was implemented in Clash 24, but only a few units got them. Ferocious Charge is if the unit has an unhindered charge, it gets a +1 to hit. So units that hit on 3s become hitting on 2, that is very, very juicy. But in this faction order, it limits what can or cannot use this order. And it's a whole laundry list of things that can and cannot use. And the key thing is not a Horde or Legion. Another thing is Cavalry is missing from here. I think the main thing is to limit Cavalry, because a Cavalry regiment pretty much has a Horde level of attacks. So that would be too strong if you were to be able to give it. So Cavalry is missing from this list. Titans and Monsters are also missing from this list. So of my opponent's list, of course Horde and Legion can't do it. So Tormentors can do it, which is very juicy. Hitting on 3s become 2s. Phantoms can do it. So if you have a flank, 20 attacks on 24 attacks on 4s, turning into 3s, and with coupled with Bane-Chan, that could put in some hurt as well. Ravagers are in regiments, so they can do it. And the Monsters and the Titans can't do it. Alright. The other one is Magical Resistance. So Night Stalkers do have some weakness against shooting attacks. So this kind of shore up that problem. But however, you only give 2 units at max, 2 units here. This order can be used twice. 2 units at max with Spell Ward, so it might not be that fantastic as I felt in this game. Okay, so let's move on. Before that, let me shout out to my local game store. In my opinion, the best game store in Singapore. They are beginner friendly with demo games, paint workshops, and overall a very casual gaming environment. They have the widest range of games and hobby supplies, including very obscure hobby brands and tools. They have separate levels for retail and gaming, so you can shop in peace or take part in the rowdy, fun atmosphere on the gaming level. Their website is always updated with new products added weekly. hammerhouse.com.sg. Check it out. Alright, we're playing one of the newer scenarios as well, and this is a progressive one, Wreck and Ruin. And if I'm not wrong, it could be designed by Steve Hildrew. I'm not sure if it's been enhanced upon since his iteration, but this one has 2 dominate circles on the left and right, and basically on round 3, 4, and 5, if you have the higher unit strength in each circle, you score 1 point, and then there's 1 objective marker at the exact center, and you only score 1 point for it at the end of the game. So at the end of the game, this objective marker is only 1 point. So this forces you to participate in scoring the circles because they are worth 3 points each, so 6 points in total. So that one, right, you can't just bang on winning the objective marker at the end. So you have to participate round 3, 4, and 5 in controlling the circles. Okay, a key thing is at the end of round. So that means after the second player's turn, the bottom of 3, bottom of 4, top of bottom of 5. So for the top player, the top of 3, top of 4, top of 5, it might be a bit more challenging because you move into the circle and then the opponent can respond for each of this round to see whether he can make sure he scores or he denies you from scoring. Okay, so this is how big it is. Dominate circles, 2 of them, right? And so these are the units deployed. There are some proxies. This is a new edition. A lot of people are trying new stuff. So I have labeled all of them. Okay, the heavy proxies, I will keep them labeled for most of the game. So you could pause here if you'd like to check what's what. If not, I will move on. Okay, so heavy proxies. This Shrimp over here is actually a Portal of Despair, Titan base. This horde is very obviously scarecrows. Okay, so for myself, berserkers are the earth elementals, and then this regiment are the flame bearers. Okay, so my opponent, top of one, shuffled things up and did spell ward on this Ravager regiment. Because my shooting, they're mainly here, here, and here, right? And whatever unit I might be able to fireball. Okay, so I think he didn't roll 6, so he only spell warded 1 unit. Or maybe this looks like buckskin. Let me see, that is buckskin. That silver dice he uses is the buckskin. So I can't see the other spell ward token, so perhaps he didn't roll very high. Because you need 6 to spell ward 2 units, right? So another thing, I think I won the sides and initiative. Because if I would win the side, I'll take the bottom. And if I win the initiative, I'll let him go first. Because like earlier I said, Rack and Ruin, the second player seems to be advantageous in dictating, having the final say each round on whether to score or deny the circles. And yeah, winning the sides I'll pick here because there's this blocking terrain here. Blocking terrain in the zone is always very disadvantageous because it gives you lesser space to go around, right? You have to enter from these 2 lanes, okay? And then you can't put park units here to score as well. So you are forced to have more things push further deeper in because this footprint is denied. Okay, so for me, I moved my stuff up, and no worries, I can't spell. This is unit spell warded. Let me just unload into the scarecrows. So I dealt 9 wounds onto the scarecrows. I probably did strength, accuracy, and channel power, respectively. Okay, I moved these berserkers into the zone. Still pretty far from most things, but what is most critical is I don't remember whether I popped the imp. So it's still a new thing. I kind of forget to pop it sometimes. Over on the right side, I shuffled stuff up and I scorched earth the phantoms because this is the only thing that can charge. Okay, so let's move on. Top of 2. So I think both Ravagers unloaded into the berserkers, as well as I think he mind fogged the berserkers as well, because these scarecrows are still on 9 wounds with heal 7 and Radiance of Life. It should be on less wounds if he healed. He probably could have removed 1. Perhaps we forgot about Radiance of Life. He could have removed 1 to become 8, and then he mind fogged here. Looking at the wound marker, it says 5 wounds. With mind fog, it's a 6, so it's a 7 once to waver. Okay, if he didn't mind fog, it would be an 8 to waver. Okay, over on the other side, my opponent shuffled up. Notice that these Ravaged Tormentors are still behind the forest, looking into this area over here, and the portal is still hiding behind the building. I think there's a horror somewhere here as well. One thing I did notice was that earlier when he shuffled up, the terror is behind the scarecrows, but this second shuffle, there is a huge amount of space for the terror. So that gives me a chance to chaff up the terror while I try to deal with the scarecrows. On the other hand, these phantoms are over here screening the butchers. I don't remember which butcher is which. One has elite, the other one has sharpness, right? So firstly, these gargoyles went to chaff up the terror, while my 2 sort of hammer units charged in these 2. Okay, and these 2 should be enough to kill, but then, so I don't think I needed to send another unit of berserkers. Okay, then over on this side, so what I do against this one, where whenever I killed the phantoms, the butchers will come for me. Okay, so of course I don't want to have my hammers being hit by the butchers, so I found that if I charge the gargoyles and the Well of Souls, so the Well of Souls would be here, and then the phantoms would be here. Okay, being the age of the bot does help me a little bit. After killing, by moving forwards my gargoyles d6 inches, it could block the butcher such that it could only charge the gargoyles, and the Well of Souls can stay safe from being hit by the butchers. So I would want him to hit my gargoyles. I don't want him to hit my Well of Souls. And if I don't route, because of the spacing here, I don't think the butchers can hit the Well of Souls. So even if the phantoms countercharge the gargoyles, as you can see very obviously, the butchers with the phantoms in front and the edge of the board over here can't really hit my Well of Souls. So with that, I was quite confident to do this maneuver. And of course, if I kill it, that's a bonus. Phantoms, if I'm not wrong, dash 12, defense 4. Gargoyles would deal 2.5 wounds on average. And Well of Souls would deal about 4 to 5 wounds on average. Okay, so that's just 6.5, 7. 7 will be a 5 twice to kill. So strength and accuracy is really great in this regard. If I needed the math to be more in my favor a little bit, I could do strength on one and accuracy on the other, right? So that'll swing the math in my favor a lot more. Okay. So nonetheless, what I did, let's talk about the right side first. So yep, gargoyles went into terror. Things are safe for the terror for 1 round, and my units killed the phantom, and I moved the gargoyles up, overrun quite a bit. I'm happy with that, and then the Well of Souls turn in and face. Okay, I charged Tortured Souls into the front of Scarecrows and the Berserker Horde into the flank. It clips the side hindered, but still in the flank, it should be 20 hits and pretty much 18 wounds. Okay, and plus Tortured Souls in front. Look at that, 19 wounds, and I probably wrote Snake Eyes. Okay, so not too bad. What's going to happen next, you'll see. Alright, so let's talk about the center. So I started swinging Cronius to this zone, very obviously. So very obvious, I'm trying to win this one. With so many things on this side, I don't think I can win. So I started to swing my forces heavily to the right side. I'm not going to win here anyway, so if I can push my forces to the other side, that would be great. His things here are generally pretty slow. The Scarecrows are like speed 4, the rest are about 6, right? So I think he spell warded. Let's see, he spell warded the Planar Apparition. So the Scarecrows are heavily wounded, so I might as well pump shots into them. So I shot here. Zazu started going towards the right, but still lightning bolted. Same thing for Bill, moving towards the side, but still lightning bolted. The troop of Abyssals that I used as the Zazu battery is also swinging to the side. Okay, Flame Bearers stay on the hill and shoot. They could have backed off a bit, sidestepped, not even sidestepped them. Okay, and this unit I use Tactical Retreat, the Berserkers, because if I was shot by the Ravagers, right, so they were within 12, right? Okay, so if I backed up 4.5, the Ravagers would still be able to shoot at me because I back up 4.5, they move up 6, right? But if I back up 9, they move 6. I will be out of shooting range. And so I spent 3 points to do a Tactical Retreat. So at this part of the battle, I would like to delay him as much as possible. So whatever force I leave behind to hold the fort, if they can survive as long as possible, while there's something alive, he can't swing so quickly towards the other side, right, or towards the center. So looking at these numbers, I abandoned. So upon deployment, I have about 765 points on this side of the circle. I just left these 2 units behind. Everything else started swinging over. So these 3 units are worth 465. I'm leaving behind a measly garrison of 300 points to delay my opponent as long as possible. So you look at his pointage, about 1,000 points deployed here, 1,000 Nova points deployed here, and 200 points in the middle. So just by the sheer number of stuff I have on this side, or going to have, right? Even I already started with more, 500 more, so that's 50% more. And then I'm going to swing another almost 500 points towards this side. So I'm going to heavily, quickly crush this side and come to the center. Was my plan. Okay. So let's look at top 3 my opponents did. So he moved up and spell warded again. I think put some shots here. I think this one, was it still in range? I can't really remember. It could be, but it could be still in range. I'm not too sure about that. And I could be wavered again because the next round I retreated again. So let's I could be wavered, or maybe he just moved up just to get in range. I can't remember exactly. Moved up just to get closer, but not able to shoot. Putting my finger on the screen to measure, it seems like it's within range. So perhaps I did a full retreat, but still within range on some of them. Okay, let's look at the other side. Let me see. I think this is the round that I didn't tactical retreat. So sorry about that. The next one was the one that I tactical retreat. Okay. Yeah, seems like I'm still within range, and I think I popped. I backed up and popped the imp, expecting that I wouldn't get wavered again, but I think I got wavered again. I think that was what happened. All right. So let's come back to the other side. Okay, so for him, he killed the gargoyles here expectedly with the terror. Okay, but this butchers failed to kill the gargoyles. I see the wound marker is only 4, so it's like pretty much returning me a sort of snake eyes result, because the butchers should easily take out the gargoyles. So he immediately returned the favor. Right, Scarecrows countercharge the Tortured Souls, dealing some damage. This is an interesting one. He moved the Berserkers to block the Phantoms. I think it's to stop me from charging these Tormentors. The Tormentors moved up, but out of the Cronius's line of sight. Okay, so bottom of 3. What did I do? Let's talk about the left first. That's a little bit easier. So I think this time I tactical retreated, so you can see that it goes off screen. So I'm saying, okay, you do have to commit to coming all the way forwards in this direction and shoot at me. If you want to shoot at me, there is because I moved to pretty much the edge of the table already, so I can't back off, and it's still within his shooting range. I can't back off anymore. So my flame bearers, knowing that I'm just gonna be a sacrificial unit anyway, decided to charge, because when I charge, then it prevents the Ravagers from starting to swing more towards the center and while shooting at the flame bearers. It also prevents this Scarecrows from moving 8 inches towards the center. So I slowed down this whole forces a little bit by charging. Okay, over on the right side, okay, Bale and Zazu did Lightning Bolt on these Tormentors, with the Cronius moving forwards to force a charge, and I did Cloak of Death. So I think I wrote quite poorly. Lightning Bolt 15 plus Cloak of Death, only 3 wounds. Okay, granted the Zazu's Lightning Bolt is with cover, while the Bale's one isn't. I was a bit too conservative with Bale's movement. I only moved this much, as you can see, because I wanted to have options. I wanted to be able to see, firstly see this for Lightning Bolt, see the terror, and see the Phantoms. My Berserkers charged in, but I should be a bit more confident about my Berserkers probably able to grind out the Phantoms, because Berserkers does have that regen, higher nerve, higher crushing, everything, right? More attacks. Okay, so I was a bit too conservative, because like the terror was barely within 20 inches, and I think I did not consider charging the terror in the first place. I was thinking the Well of Souls and terror can just be locked in combat forever. Okay, only the next round I realized that, oh, it's within 20 inch and in the flank. Okay, so I should be a bit more aggressive, sort of. I can push the Bale a bit further. I don't need to look at the Phantom, so I can look this way rather than being like barely able to see everything. Okay, so sometimes you want to see everything, you are barely able to see them. Okay, and why my Cronius moved up here as well is also I triple charged the Scarecrow. So after dying, I turned the Tortured Souls around. Okay, so between the Tortured Souls facing the building over here and Cronius's position, the Tormentors can't land on the Tortured Souls. It can't charge the lower abyssals as well, and it can't charge the Berserkers as well, because they are the same width, in the depth rather. Okay, so just to block the landing zones. It would have been even better, because if I casted and succeeded my what's that spell called, Scorched Earth, but I failed it. Okay, no worries that the Tormentors can't see my what's her name? Seductress anyway. Okay. So let's talk about the Tormentors. I was sweating a little bit when I failed the Scorched Earth because he could do a ferocious charge on the Tormentors. 15 attacks, hitting on 2s. That's about 12 hits. 12.5, right, to be exact. Okay, it has Brew of Strength, so Crush 2 is wounding on 3s. There's a horror somewhere here with Bane Chan. So he could be wounding on 2s. He could be dealing 10 to 11 wounds. This pattern has a Dread, so that will bring it to 11 to 12. He's a dash 18, so high chance to rout. High chance to rout. So 11 will be a 7 twice. 12 will be a 6 twice. If he's spiked, then there's a good chance to kill. Okay, but he did choose not to do it. He decided to move out of the arc and threaten the stuff over here. Move out of front arc of this, move out of front arc of the Cronius. Okay, over on the right side, these butchers killed the gargoyles finally. Okay, the terror hit the Well of Souls, but no rampage trigger. So no biggie for the Well of Souls. Okay, let's look over on the left side. So expectedly killed the Flame Bearers, and these Ravagers successfully I've put them so out of position just to kill the Berserkers. So now they will have a hard time swinging back towards the center for the end game 1 token. So very obviously, he's going to score this circle every round. I'm going to score this circle every round, and the end game will be about the center token. Okay, let's talk about what I do next. So so on my turn immediately I checked, the Bale is within 20 inches of the terror, and I think it's 19 point something. So much closer than I would be comfortable with, but it's still within charge range as well as in the flank. So that's a good charge for me. 14 attacks on force because of the water. On force, so 7 hits. Vicious brutal, so probably 7 wounds. With brutal, this one is about 3 wounds from the front. Right, 7, 3, 10 plus 2 wounds, existing 12. If I put a bit of strength and accuracy into each of them, that will bring it into a very good routing range. Okay, and the butchers here, no worries, I can double charge with the ghouls, or rather lower abyssals and berserkers. These two are locked in combat for a little while. He hit back. And so, on my turn, the double monsters killed the terror. Double units here charged the butchers but did not kill. So I'll be sweating a little bit because the berserkers might be killed in 1 round. But luckily, at least there's the higher nerf point of 18 for the route value. Okay, so over here, Seductress charged into the Tormentor's flank, hindered, so it stepped into the forest. So that is also key that she can see outside of the forest to the other side. That troop of lower abyssals charged the front. I probably gave it Bane Chant, and I definitely rode hot with some Cloak of Death support. 9 wounds and wavered. Okay, I'm not sure if it had any wounds when it moved on to here, because it did have 3 earlier. Could have taken a heal from the Planar Apparition. Right, or maybe the dice wouldn't move, but it could have been healed up. So let's look at the... So this is bottom of 4, right? Okay, so the Berserkers did not kill the Phantoms, so slowly grinding away. Okay, so top of 5, his Horror tried to charge, hopefully to ground the Bale. Butchers countercharged these Berserkers, but the Berserkers held, thankfully. It's on 7 wounds only. Okay, and then Portal of Despair started to come out. The tactical retreat on the Tormentors decided to pull back its full speed of 7. Probably got healed up by this unit to 1 wound, which is amazing. 9 to 1, 7. So, 9 to 1, yeah. Alright, but it's still within charge range of Tormentors, the lower abyssals if I want to, and Cronius. And Cronius is in the flank, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, Cronius is in the flank. So, yeah, I think, not sure if the horror actually did 1 wound to ground Bale. I think it didn't. But I think that it couldn't see the portal of despair through the building, with the corner of this building blocking the line of sight, right? This is his turn. So his staff over here started shuffling towards the center. Butchers are well within the forest. So what I do, I forgot to take a picture here, so I'll just describe through it. So double charge in return killed the butchers over here. The berserkers finally killed off the phantoms. Over here to combat. So butchers quite deadly. Let me just send the troop of abyssals in. Okay, tormentors in the front, Cronius in the side, killed off these tortured souls, and Cronius killed off the tormentors, right? And then the warlock just moved up in between so that his frontage can be screened by all these units. Okay, probably been enchanted something. My seductress, it was poking in the forest, right? So you could see the planetary apparition. I wanted to shut down the healing and shut down this unit strength as well. Another plus point is by the seductress being here, I think the scarecrows couldn't see as well, right? I think the front arc is blocked by the planner itself. Okay, so top of 6. So when my tortured souls killed the tormentors, it did turn to face the portal. Okay, so the portal at this point just decided to move this way. I think it's trying to block some line of sight to the butchers. Yep, like this. Right, block some line of sight. I'm not sure if it blocks. The Well of Souls is able to charge as well. Okay, so at the top of 6, which the game might potentially end, this is 3 VP. This is 3 unit strength. This is 2 unit strength. I think it's just barely in. Okay, while I have a 3 here and 1 here, so I could easily put more unit strength in. So I missed this shot as well. But looking at this shot, what I would have done is turn the tortured souls around, nothing to fight. Cronius go in the flank. Well of Souls charge the front and be within the zone. So I will have 3 unit strength here. Cronius probably out. Well of Souls will be 1 unit strength. Bale, what I could do is fly up and stand here within 3 inches of the token while denying these units from coming in. The seductress will just stay here. And I think this Bale will be out of the Ravager's front arc as well. So I will have 3 unit strength from the Tortured Soul, 1 from Well of Souls, 1 from Bale, and 1 from Zazu that's standing over here. So that will give me 6 unit strength. Even if I don't kill the Butcher or the Portal of Despair, I'll still be able to win this. And there was no turn 7. So, yep, that is the end of the game. So let's look at learning points. So progressive scoring scenarios, you must score the zone that you want to win every turn. If not, you'll be falling behind and you will not be able to catch up. Okay, so if the moment you can stop the opponent from scoring the circle for 1 turn, right, then that will be awesome. So if I had a bit more stuff devoted on the left side, I could see if I can, as the bottom player, right, bottom of the round player, right, I could purposely stuff stuff into the zone to match his unit strength just to prevent him from scoring. Or if I score 1, that will be even more disastrous for him. That will be too difficult to climb back from, because that will be a 2-point lead, right? He don't score and I score that circle. Okay, in most scenarios you have to decide which. In Kings of War, it's very difficult to win on every front, so you have to decide where you're winning and where you're losing. So wherever you're losing, you devote as little as possible and delay them as long as possible. Okay. So advancing key units behind the screen so they don't get charged by Chaff. I'm not sure if the Terror being exposed to let the Gargoyle jam it was a mistake. I think you could just keep it in front, keep it closer to the Scarecrows. So my list being fast, I miss playing fast lists. I used to always play fast lists. So like everything each of my unit has like 3 or 4 possible targets they could charge. So multiply that by all my units, there's so many combinations of what I could potentially charge. Of course, as the pilot of the list, I know that there's only a few viable options, but the opponent might not know. So he must, as the opponent, he has to plan for every possibility. What if these 2 fast units charge my unit A or unit B or unit C, and then what if his second unit, so there's so many possibilities that the opponent needs to plan for, and it's a lot of mental load as he shuffles and tries to set up the defense. Another thing about fast units, it lets me swing my forces around for scenario, redeploy my left side units to the right. Okay, so the slower your list, the more important deployment is, because once you deploy your units in the wrong place, it's very hard for them to swing all the way around. Okay, so this is talking about my build, trying to look at everything at once. So sometimes don't be too greedy. Have your units don't need to face everything, because when you face everything, sometimes your position is not ideal. Okay, but focus on more important tasks. So let's talk about Rack and Ruin. I think progressive scenario is quite fun. You have to force your units to go in, so you can't stay back and shoot it out first or just play KG, 2 KG. But that being said, the dominate circles are very big, but I do understand some of the rationale behind it. You want a big circle so that your shooting units can be there. And if the circle was very small, like 12 inch for example, your shooting units being there, everything can charge it. That's also not ideal. Okay, but that circle being so big is very a bit harder to zone people out unless you charge them before they step in. Okay. Yeah, scoring at the end of the round, is it too good for the player that goes second? I don't fully mind this, because I think there is a mix of scenarios that are better for the first player and there are a mix of scenarios better for the second player. What I find is 2 zones might be too binary, right? I win one and delay the other. Very straightforward strategy. If it was 3 zones, would it be more interesting? Right? So each will try to secure one of the circles, and then there'll be a constant battle for the 3rd circle. That might be more exciting to watch for. Let's talk about my hot takes on Command Dice. First-ish impressions, because I have this is my first battle report, but I had quite a handful of games with Clash 25 already. I think about 4 to 6 games so far. So a few things that I like. So I welcome the ability to decide to boost some areas in your favor, like really wanting to get Pinch Hunt or Scorched Earth off. You can use accuracy to get 3 dice. Yeah, or just wanting to wound, the number of damage dealt to just go 1 or 2 points higher in your favor. I think that's pretty good. It adds variability to the game that's not on the board state. This was said by Matt Crozier on Countercharge, and I fully agree with that. Sometimes you feel that by just looking at the board, you know that, okay, the opponent can only charge this, roughly do this much, that's all he can do, I win the game. So you already solved the game. But to be able to have to account for the faction orders will make it a bit more unpredictable in a fun way, I guess, or more things to have to cater to. Like, what if he ferocious charge and charge this unit? Wow, that would suddenly do a lot of damage. If he spikes, might kill this unit. So you have to think of that probability. Right, I like that there's endurance, a global ability to heal, because some lists, some factions just not viable to bring heal, right? So then every single point of damage sticks, which can be terrible at times. Sometimes you have a unit take quite a bit of damage in the early game, and then you have to hide that unit for the rest of the game, because like if the opponent has shooting or just a little bit of attacks, would just kill that unit. And then if your list has no healing, then you're just stuck with just hiding this unit away, afraid to bring it out, dying to a stiff breeze. But having the ability to heal, although it's 1 per turn, let's say your unit is wounded on turn 2, you just start hiding it. Turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, you heal 1 point each, you would have healed 3 wounds, and that might make it, I can take a Lightning Bolt 5, right? 3 wounds, healing 3 wounds back, a Lightning Bolt 5 would deal 1 to 2 wounds only. So I think that is great. Okay, and most games, the most commonly used is strength for 1, accuracy for 1, and endurance for 2. Your faction command, most of them cost 4. I think most people will end up buying 2 to 3 red dice, so your average pool will be about 5 to 7. Okay, so 5 to 7, or most of the time 6. So 6, you probably do this or this 1 1 4, right? Okay, or sometimes you do endurance and faction command, right? Or sometimes you just find that you don't need the faction command. I much rather do strength, accuracy, and endurance. And then whenever you do that, you find that you always have common points left over. So if you get 5, if you rolled 5, you'll be left with 2. You wrote with 1. If you wrote 6, you'll be left with 2. If you wrote 7, you'll be left with 3. Okay. So I like that some orders shore up certain faction weaknesses, particularly Orcs needing Pathfinder, Spell Ward for Night Stalkers, some Shambling units with asterisks, right? So I think that, like, if I have 2 Earth Elementals or Obsidian Golems, right? First turn, I would march at the double 1 unit by removing the Shambling. Second turn, I would double the other unit by removing the Shambling. Then they're quite up to speed with normal speed 5 stuff. Okay, the asterisk is, it might be pretty good on the flying speed 10 nimble stuff, and that will be your air elemental varieties as well as the undead flying worm. Giving halfling stealthy is show up their weakness. They're pretty vulnerable to shooting as well. Okay, so you can see that a lot of the stronger faction orders sometimes have restrictions on what unit can use them. And sometimes the laundry list is huge, like Ferocious Charge on the Night Stalkers. So it clearly is trying to limit what units can get Ferocious Charge, because some units might be too good, especially Butcher Hordes with them, right? So then the laundry list is just for balance reasons and make no thematic sense. So it's something that you just have to memorize. Why is it like this? Okay, because if this horde gets Ferocious Charge, is too good, or if that cavalry unit gets Ferocious Charge, is too good. Okay, so Ferocious Charge is one big offender. The other one is EOD's, forgot what's the name, but the one that gives vengeance. You know, vengeance on enslaved guardians is too good, so it's not allowed to be used on large infantry. It can only be used on cavalry, large cavalry, and chariots. So I think those are the units that with that +1 crushing strength is okay, right? Okay, so sometimes a bit hard to remember because it's more of balance reasons rather than thematic reasons. Okay, so strength and accuracy is very good. So deciding to use before rolling is a good balance. I think accuracy should be limited to not work for spells, because it's better than channel power most of the time, right? Costing only 1, I can reroll Alchemist's Curse to hit, right? And while channel power doesn't improve the dice roll by 1. That being said, channel power maybe just cost 2 instead. Okay, it's already not allowed for unique spells, so I think costing 2 is alright to +1 dice. Most of the time it's Lightning Bolt, Drain Life, Bane Chan, Scorched Earth, Hex, Fireball, so I think +1 dice is alright. So Vigilance, on the other hand, that one that costs a whopping 6 points, should be allowed after seeing the roll, and probably cost less at 4 to 5. Okay, a lot of times you won't have so many points going into the combat phase, the melee phase. Tactical Retreat, Stubborn and Reposition. I like them being insurance against few bad traffic jam moments. But even then, I think Stubborn being a big drawback that the unit can't participate in any combat or shooting because it's disordered, so it can't shoot. So I think it just needs to cost 4. 5 is quite expensive. Okay, so right now I feel that Stubborn is you don't need it most of the time, but when you really need it to clear a traffic jam, you might just lose the game without it. So I think I like to buy 2 red dice on most of my lists. That will give me most of the time 5 on average, 5 quite often. So if I really need to clear a bad waiver, I'll do it. Okay, faction commands. Some of them are very, very good. Are they game breaking? Possibly, but I don't want to make that judgment so soon, but it could be. Okay, so I think the ones that gives a +1 to hit or +1 to wound is very, very strong. So that would be your Ferocious Charge. Thunderous Charge, I think they're on Goblin, not Goblin, Ratkin and Halflings. Okay, Vengeance, and that'll be on your Dwarves. So I think all these are very, very good. And perhaps they should cost 5. And the others should maybe cost less, 2. So Brutal +1 and Dread is pretty good. Brutal +1, especially for Ogres. Okay, all their units are already brutal, so there's a +2 swing easily. If you run the Mammoth, big deal is +3, Brutal 3, right? If you have Kuslo, it's equivalent to Brutal 4. Not sure if Kuslo will be around most of the time, but the big deal can pass that Brutal 2 very easily, right? So that might see more people running big deal. Dread is pretty good from Twilight Kin because I could put Dread on one unit that might not be the one fighting, and then the one fighting can do strength, and if there's 2 double charge, the other one can do accuracy. So with all these commands, you can swing a combat more than 1 point, right? Because Dread is already 1 point, and then strength and accuracy might swing up to 1 point each. And I think a lot of the others should cost 3. So these maybe cost 4. Right now, the Brutal +1 only costs 3. Okay, then I think a lot of others should cost 3. Okay, point costs are a bit weird, like how I mentioned earlier. If you do strength, accuracy, and endurance, a lot of times you have less than 4 points remaining, so you waste up to 1, 2, or 3 command points a lot of times. Okay. So unless you buy a lot more command dice, which I think is not very worthwhile. So that's my hot take on this first take on Clash of Kings. So I hope you enjoyed the battle reports and my thoughts and opinions. I do have a podcast lined up with some esteemed guests to talk about Clash 25. So a lot of people have done their first impression review. So I thought I'll do something different this year to have more informed opinion and review of Clash 25. So shout out to my patrons before I go. 1 Peep Anonymous, 2 Peep Thomas Douglas, and 4 Peep Alessandro Serpe. Thank you for your contribution to keep the channel running. If you enjoyed this video, watch another one. Take part in all the YouTube algorithm. Check out my podcast at Newbie Dice Podcast. I'll be dropping that podcast episode, the more informed review of Clash 25 in 2 weeks' time. So if you'd like to support my mission to bring helpful content to help people be better at playing Kings of War, do consider supporting me on Patreon. With that, the first battle report of Clash 25 on Newbie Dice done and dusted with the new Abyss Army. How are you liking it? Do let me know your thoughts on the Abyss Army. What are your opinions against mine on Clash 25, especially on the command points and the scenarios? Do leave some comments. Let me know. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.